Good evening, everyone. Good to be here again. I didn't get a chance to vlog yesterday. Something happened, an emergency happened, so I didn't get a chance to vlog. So that's what was up with yesterday. But yeah, I'm back today. And so today we're going to talk about the power of focus. And I may change that title, but that's just what's popping up right now, is the power of focus. So I bring this up because I've been watching some stuff lately and thinking about kind of, things that I need to do to improve my situation. And one of the things that, pops up a lot is focus. So what's focus? I'm sure most of y'all know. But in layman terms, being focused is putting all your energy on one thing. Okay, that's just layman's term definition. And when you do that, and not everybody's able to do that, depending on your situation, whatever. But when you do that, then all your energy goes to that particular thing or person or whatever. And you are able to get things done faster, accomplish things done faster. You're able to do everything in a much more what's the word I'm looking for? In a much more maybe not necessarily expedited manner, but in a much less distracting manner. And in doing so, you're able to accomplish things faster or better, however way you want to look at it. But when you focus your energies on one thing, you are able to accomplish what you focus on better and faster. I guess that's the best way to put it. So, just one example, and I'll use a biblical example. It seems to be apropos. It's what popped in my head. When the Tower of Babel was being built, the reason that God confounded the languages was and I'm paraphrasing here, is that because he knew that because the human species was so focused on building the tower up to heaven, if he wouldn't have confounded the languages, they would have accomplished their goal. They were just that focused. And so he confounded the languages. So now instead of everybody speaking one language, now they're all speaking different languages. So just imagine the human species at one time all spoke the same language and were focused on one goal, and that was to build a tower to heaven. Now we know realistically that would never have happened, but they were focused. And even God understood that if he allowed the human species to continue to be that focused, that there was nothing that they couldn't accomplish. And so he confounded the language. But even as individuals, if we are focused, there's nothing that we can't accomplish. God didn't take the ability away. He just made it harder to use the ability as a human species. He didn't take the ability to be focused away. He didn't take the intelligence away. He didn't take any of that away. He made it more difficult. So in confounding the languages, and now everybody's speaking different languages, nobody could focus on the goal because they couldn't understand each other. But that doesn't mean that we as individuals cannot be focused and accomplish anything we put our mind to. Because we know that life and death is in the power of the tongue. That's what the Bible also says. And so that's why positive affirmations are so powerful, because when you speak positivity and you continuously are doing it, what you're doing is you're focusing your mind on positive things and not negative. So every morning, not only am I praying for peace, especially at work, but I'm saying, Lord, it's going to be a great day. What I'm doing is I'm focusing my mind on the positive. Lord, it's going to be a great day. And what that does is it focuses my mind on being positive. Now, will it stay that way? Well, that's up to that's why you have to ask the Lord for strength, and that's why you as an individual have to continuously be focused on being positive, because it's very easy to be negative. So this whole thing comes back to the power of being focused, or the power of focus. When you make your mind up in what you want to do, more often than not, you're going to accomplish what you set out to do, because all your energy is focused on that one thing. And so somebody may say, well, what about people that know how to multitask? Well, multitasking is not focusing. Multitasking is what it is. You're multitasking. Focus is one thing. Multitasking is many things. I'm not a great multitasker. My wife is an excellent multitasker. And believe you me, I applaud people that are able to do multiple things at once. I think it's an awesome ability. I think I would even consider it a gift to be able to do multiple things and be able to accomplish multiple things. That's not focus. Focus is putting your energies on one thing. So when another example is, I used to watch a lot of Discovery Channel back when the programming was good, and they used to have all the living out in the wild and nature and all this other stuff. And so what they would do to try to start fires is they would have a mirror or something reflective, and depending on how you position that reflective piece of whatever, after a while, that the rays of the sun reflecting off that piece of whatever is going to heat that piece of wood enough to where it's going to cause a fire to be started because of the heat. That's focus. You're focusing the rays of the sun on a particular piece of wood, which causes a fire. After a certain amount of time, the heat builds up and it causes combustion. That's focus. You're taking the power of the sun, putting on a piece of wood, paper, or with something combustible, and after a while, that heat is going to get so hot, it's going to make that combustible combust. That's focus. We as saints and or Christians should be focused on living saved. That should be our primary focus. But for us who don't have the gift of multitasking, we have to learn how to multitask, because we still are living in this world, and this world requires you to be a multitasker. And yet, living saved as a saint and or a Christian is our primary focus. We can't be totally focused on that. And let me make sure I phrase this correctly. Okay. When people say this is your primary focus, you can only focus on one thing at a time. So that's a misnomer. Let me rephrase what I'm saying. Saying that you have more than one focus is a misnomer, and it's not true. If you are focusing on something, you're focusing on one thing. If you're doing other things, you're not being focused, you're multitasking. So that's a misnomer. Let me get rid of that misnomer right then and there. Okay? There's no such thing as having many focuses. I don't care who you talk to. I don't care who it is. Being focused is putting all your attention on one thing. Doing multiple things is not having a primary, secondary focus. No, you're multitasking. There's a big difference. And there are some people that are better at multitasking than others. Okay? So what I'm saying is that living in the world that we live in, we must be multitaskers, even if it's not our gift. You can learn to be a multitasker. Some people are gifted to be multitaskers, like my wife. The rest of us have to learn how to do it, and we may never be that great at it, but good enough to get by. Okay. Our focus is to live saved so we can make it to heaven. But because we live in this world, we have to be multitaskers. If that makes sense. I hope I'm not, being heretical in any way. I just don't believe that if you're focused on something, you can focus on multiple things. That's not being focused. Okay. Yes, our focus should be living saved, living for God, because we want to make it to heaven. But because we are, what's the old adage? We're just travelers passing through. We're in the world, but not of the world. Then we have to be multitaskers, because we got to live in a world that doesn't respect us, doesn't like us, and really doesn't support us. They tolerate us, at least in the Western world, because in the Western world you have freedom of religion. So we're tolerated. But back to being focused. Being focused is another, in my opinion, is another gift as well, because there are many folk out there that aren't focused at all, and some who have a mental impairment that prevents them from being focused. We won't even get into all that, but there are people that want to be focused, but they have some sort of a mental or physical impairment that prevents them from being able to focus on things. We won't even get into them. But there's a power in focus. There's a power in being singularly minded on a particular thing that you're able to put all your effort into it, and in putting all your effort into something, you're going to be successful in that thing. That's not to say that failure won't come. Failure is a part of life. Successful people fail, but successful people use that failure as a stepping stone to their ultimate goal. Successful people. Unsuccessful people use failure, and failure railroads them, and so they never get back to where they were before the failure. But focused and successful people, we'll just say focused people, don't allow failure to dissuade them or to get them off focus. They're still focused on their goal. Failure is a part of life. Failure is how we grow. Failure is what shapes us. It's not the successes that shape us, it's our failures. And with failure, you're supposed to learn from it, not repeat it. Part of our problem is we tend to repeat failures because we don't know how to get out of failure. We're not focused on the goal that we set for ourselves, and so failure tends to railroad us, and so then we become unfocused, and then a lot of times we never get back on that goal that we set for ourselves, because we allow failure to railroad us. So there's a power in focus, not only in the spiritual world, but in the physical world, and even mentally. There's a reason why positive affirmations and are so powerful, and negative ones too, for that matter. Because again, the power of life and death is in the tongue. So what you speak has power. And if you continuously speak that, what that does is that changes the focus, that focuses you on that particular thing that you're speaking on. So if you're speaking positive affirmations, you're going to focus on being positive. If you're speaking negative, then you're going to focus on being negative. And with that focus, even when negative things come, if you're focused on the positive, you're not going to allow that to dissuade you or move you from your focus, from what your goal is, whatever that goal may be. That's why successful people are successful. That's why billionaires and millionaires are who they are, because they're focused. And in most cases, they're focused on money. And because they're focused on making money, they don't let anything, to include failure, dissuade them from making money. If you want to be an influencer, you're going to be focused on how to talk to people, how to get your point across, how you're in the art of not only influencing people, but persuading people into believing what you're telling them. So there are many people out here on YouTube that are influencers. And the reason why they're so successful at what they're doing is because they know how to talk to people. They know the right and the wrong things to say. They've even possibly done courses on psychology and learn from other influencers how to be an influencer. How to talk to people. How to get their point across, how to persuade people. Their focus on being just that, an influencer. And when you're focused on something more, you're gonna, in the end, you're gonna be successful at it. Despite the road bumps, the speed bumps, and the roadblocks, and the potholes, and all the things that may come, if you stay focused, you're gonna be successful at what you want to do. Why? Because it's in the human species that when we focus on something, we will accomplish it. Positive and negative. Dictators are successful because they're focused on being dictators. They're focused on power. And how do I accumulate power, and how do I keep power? That's their sole focus. Their focus ain't people. Their focus ain't the people around them. Their focus is, how much power can I get, and how can I keep it? And because their sole focus is power, that's why they're successful at it. Because their sole focus is power. And that's why it's so difficult to get rid of dictators or their ilk, because they're so focused. Because with power comes influence, and with influence comes persuasion, and with persuasion comes control. That's why dictators are so successful. We don't have many in this world, but we do have a few. Or so-called dictators, meaning presidents and prime ministers that live in socialist countries. They might as well be dictators because the government is running everything. So you have Putin and Xi and Kim Jong Un in North Korea, and there's a couple in Africa and others where they might not call themselves a dictator, but that's what they are, because they have total control. They have all these parliaments, but the parliaments don't have no power. That's just done to pacify the people into thinking they have some type of a representation when they don't. But they're focused. And so if we as individuals would focus on what we want to accomplish one at a time. So you focus on one thing, you accomplish that, and then your focus shifts somewhere else. So when your goal is accomplished, then you focus on a new goal. You don't stay on that goal because you've already accomplished that goal. Okay? So you move to another one. So in the previous example I just gave with the dictator, their focus is on power. Once they have that power, then their focus shifts on maintaining it. So now that I've got the power, that's one goal down, boom, I move to the new goal. The next goal is maintaining it, or keeping it, whichever word you want to use. And then after that, the next one is, how can I grow it? Or how can I expand it? That's the next focus. So focus is not saying that you have to just focus on one goal and then you can't have any other goals. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, once you put all your focus into a goal and then you accomplish that goal, then your focus is obviously going to change to another goal. You should have more than one goal in life. We all have things that we want to see in our lives. Most of us will never accomplish what we truly want in our lives, and that's unfortunate. I'm just as guilty. There's a lot of things that I want. That there's a lot of goals that I had in my life, and almost none of them I've accomplished. Most of it was my fault because I didn't have focus. Some of it wasn't my fault, but I have to take accountability. And in the end, nobody cares more about you than you. And so most of it was my fault. I wasn't focused, or focused enough. I wasn't focused enough. And so the goal disappeared. And a lot of the goals that I had, I could only do when I was young. Now that I'm old, most of these goals I can't do it anymore. I'm too old. I know they keep saying you're never too old to accomplish. No, sometimes you are too old. And then there are others that you're not. And I have a lot of regrets in my life. And a lot of it, and the regrets I have, and it's sad to say, and I'm embarrassed to say it, but are my fault. And I'm just being transparent, because maybe this will help somebody else. You have to be focused on, first, what I would say is you need to be focused on, first and foremost, what's the most important goal in your life? And then when you put all your energy into that and accomplish that goal, then pivot to the next goal. Don't stop at just one goal. We all have goals and dreams that we want to do. Oh, Jesus. We all have things that we want to do, but we have to focus on one at a time. Doing 2 or 3 things at a time is not focusing. That's multitasking. And I'm not saying you can't accomplish things multitasking. That's not what I'm saying either. But they won't come as fast, nor do I think they will come as, what's the word I'm looking for? You can accomplish your goals multitasking, but I I don't think they'll come as fast, nor do I think they will come as quite the same way that you want them to. I think when you multitask and you're doing many things at once, yeah, you're gonna accomplish things, but they won't be quite the way you want them to. I think you're sacrificing something to not be focused. To multitask is to sacrifice something. Yeah, you're gonna accomplish something, and you're gonna get things done, but they won't be quite the way you want them to, or the way you dreamed of it, or whatever word you want to use. Again, this is just the way I look at life in the world. And so I just think that as individuals, we should focus on our most important goal, accomplish that goal, and then move on to the next one, instead of trying to multitask. Just living life is a multitask. But how we focus our energies is how we accomplish goals, if that makes sense. I hope I'm not confusing people. I know it may seem a little convoluted, but being focused is focusing on one thing. Focus is one thing. Multitasking is many things. And so I think if we would just focus on one thing, accomplish that, and then move on to the next, I think we'll be better off. I think we would. I think we would be better off. And you see that focused people are successful people. Focused people are successful people. And so because they're successful, we should all want to be successful. Are we all going to be reaching the same things they do? No, because not everybody's meant to be rich. Not everybody's meant to be a millionaire or a billionaire. Not everybody's, meant to be financially rich. Some people are going to be physically rich. Some people are going to be spiritually rich. Some people are going to be mentally rich. And I say that because everybody focuses on money, but it might not be for you to be in money. God doesn't want you destitute and not being able to do things. No. Even though the Bible says the poor are going to be with you always. So we're not going to ever get rid of poverty or that mentality of being poor. Because the Bible says the poor are going to be with you always. Because there are people that want to be poor. Okay? So no matter what we do as a nation, we're never going to get rid of poverty. Because there's always going to be that poverty mindset. Okay? There's always going to be that poverty mindset. Always going to be that poverty mindset. Okay? But we don't have to be that way if we focus on what we want to do. And for those who are saints and Christians, by the leading of the Holy Ghost. Okay? So I think that we see many and multiple examples of focused people being successful. Why shouldn't we be successful as well? And it's not necessarily just monetary gain either. Okay? Everybody's focused on money, but being successful doesn't always have to do with money. Money is not the end all and be all. It's important and we need it. The Bible says money answereth all things, but the love of money is the root of all evil. So we all need money, no doubt. But money is not necessarily the mark of success. And I'm sure most of you understand that. Even if you don't agree with it, you understand it. Well, you just said that money solves all things. Yes, it does. Having money solves all things. Doesn't mean you're successful. Being successful with money means that you're a good steward of your money, which means you know how to handle your money. If all you do is spend your money when you get it, you're not successful, even if you have millions of dollars. So that's what I'm saying. So the power of focus is being able to be successful, and in being successful, you know what I'm saying, you can accomplish things that you wouldn't have been able to do when you're not focused. I'm not necessarily that great of a focused person. I mean, obviously I don't have a mental or physical disability when it comes to focus. For me, it's just that when I focus, it has to be something that I'm passionate about. And that's part of my problem. And there's nothing wrong with being passionate about something. Passion does drive focus. But it shouldn't be the thing that starts you down the road on focus. Because passion comes and goes. But the mental fortitude to be able to be focused and to accomplish things is something that, you know, is in my opinion, is a gift. Truly is a gift. You know, it truly is a gift. You know, and so, anyways, I just thought I'd come on here and talk about that, just kind of give my opinion about it, and just encourage somebody that, you know, that focus is possible. That when you do focus, success will come. Again, it's not a microwave thing. Being focused and being successful can be a short-term goal, but more than likely it's a long-term goal. Because the problem that we have, especially in the West, is that we're always thinking micro and not macro, and that's part of our problem. And that's part of, you know, our problem as individuals, that, you know, we don't think macro, we think micro. And I'm sorry, y'all. As y'all know, the only time I get a chance to do this is when I'm driving home from work, because I have such a long commute and this traffic is earlier than expected. So I might be on this highway a while. So, you know, that's not good. That's not good at all. So, yeah. So anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I pray that you get something out of this. Again, always thankful and grateful for all my subscribers and for everybody who likes and comments and shares. Please like, share, and comment this. If you are enjoying this and you want somebody else to hear it, please share it. Leave a comment. Be respectful, but leave a comment. You may have a different take on it, and that's cool. I don't pretend to be anybody smart. I don't have no doctorate or nothing like that. I'm just giving my experiences and my opinions. So take it as you will. So anyways, until the next time, I will talk to you later. God bless.